Hola a todos, soy señorita Jemima. Hello everyone, I'm Miss Jemima y hoy vamos a aprender español básico. And today we are going to learn basic Spanish. In today's video, we will learn two very simple introductory topics. Está muy fácil, they're very easy. Now this video will be helpful for if you are starting out in your Spanish learning, si eres en un nivel básico, if you're in a very basic level. So this will help you get started, push you forward in your Spanish learning. And it is also helpful if you are more advanced in your Spanish learning because it's always important to review your basics, review your fundamentals, so you can use this video to go back to these established foundations so that you can move forward in your more advanced learning with a better grasp of the basics. In today's video, we will be discussing primera, presentarse, first, to introduce oneself, y segunda, dar información personal, and second, to give personal information. Now, they may seem like very easy topics because they are, but these two topics are a good place to start learning Spanish because even though they seem to be simple, you are already going to tackle important concepts such as verbs and conjugations and changing verb tenses depending on what you are saying and what you want to say. And this is also where I started to learn my Spanish. When I took Spanish lessons, this was the very first topic taught to us. So what I learned, I will be teaching you. So before we get started with the actual topics, let me begin by telling you the necessary verbs, los verbos necesarios, that we will use today, that we will learn today, that are needed for you to introduce yourself in Spanish and give your personal information in Spanish. First is llamarse, to call oneself. Next is ser, to be. Next, vivir, to live. And tener, to have. As we go through each topic, I will explain exactly how those verbs will be used based on the sentence and the objective of each sentence. Now, with that out of the way, without further ado, let's move on to our first topic. La primera parte, presentarse. Part 1, to introduce oneself. For this part, we need the verb llamarse. Say it with me, llamarse. To literally translate it to English, it means to call oneself, or in Tagalog, pagtawag sa sarili. When we introduce ourselves, when we tell someone our name, it's usually because someone asked for it. Now in Spanish, when someone wants to ask for your name, they will ask you, Cómo te llamas? Once again, Cómo te llamas? In English, Cómo te llamas literally translates to how do you call yourself? However, in its conversational use, it simply means what is your name? And to answer that question, you simply say me llamo and then your name. For example, for myself, it will be me llamo Jemima. Me llamo literally translates to I call myself. So if I say me llamo Jemima, it literally means I call myself Jemima. Now, me llamo literally translates to I call myself, but in conversational use, it is simply like saying my name is. Now, you might be wondering, where is llamarse? I did say earlier that it is a necessary verb here. Well, llamarse is the infinitive form of the verb, or that is the base form of the verb. In the sentence, ¿Cómo te llamas? And me llamo, we conjugated llamarse, or we changed its tense from infinitive to present tense. What do I mean by this? In Cómo te llamas, llamarse became te llamas. So, llamarse, which means to call oneself, when conjugated or when turned into the present tense, can become te llamas, or you call yourself. Alright? And then in me llamo, llamarse became me llamo. So, llamarse, to call oneself, to conjugate in the present tense, can become me llamo, I call myself. So you may have noticed by now that conjugating in Spanish is a bit different from conjugating in English, in that in one tense, in just one tense, just the present tense, a verb can take many forms depending on who is talking, or who they are talking to, or what they want to say. But that is a completely different and a little more difficult topic, so we won't get too into that right now. Just remember that llamarse becomes te llamas when you ask for someone's name. Therefore, ¿cómo te llamas? How do you call yourself? And then llamarse becomes me llamo when you are telling someone your name. So, once again, me llamo Jemima. So now that you know how to ask for someone's name and introduce yourself in Spanish, we can move on to our next topic, which is giving personal information in Spanish. La segunda parte, dar información personal. Part 2, to give personal information. When I say personal information, this can be a multitude of topics. However, since we are only doing very basic Spanish here, so we will just do basic personal information, such as your nationality or country of origin, your residence, and your age. So, tu nacionalidad, tu domicilio, y tu edad. Empezamos con nacionalidad y domicilio. Let us begin with nationality and residence. As before, I will teach you the question you need to ask if you want to know someone's nationality or place of residence, and also so that you might know or recognize this question when it is being asked you. And then I will teach you the sentence for answering the question or for giving your personal information. The verbs we will use for this part are ser, to be, and vivir, to live. I will discuss the conjugations or the ways these verbs will be used as we go along talking about these questions and sentences. In Spanish, when someone is asking for your nationality, it is implied in the question that they're also asking about your country of origin. So when someone wants to know your nationality in Spanish, they might ask you, ¿De dónde eres? Once again, ¿De dónde eres? Literally, ¿De dónde eres means from where are you? But in conversational use, it is simply like asking, where are you from? Therefore, you can answer this question in two ways. You can either say your country of origin, or you can simply say your nationality. For example, you can answer with soy de Filipinas or soy Filipina. Soy de Filipinas means I am from the Philippines, and soy Filipina means I am Filipina. So if you are seeing some weird capitalization right now, it's not a grammatical error. It is just the custom or the standard in Spanish to spell the country with capital first letter and the nationality with a lowercase first letter. Hence, Filipinas as a country is spelled with a capital F, and Filipina, which is a nationality, is spelled with a lowercase f. You will also notice that I said soy Filipina. I am very particular about the gender in which my nationality is expressed. That is because it is also a rule in Spanish. So I cannot simply say I am Filipino in Spanish. I cannot say soy Filipino because I am not a man. Since I identify as a woman, I also have to express that when I introduce my nationality. Therefore, I said soy Filipina. However, a Filipino man introducing himself or giving his nationality in Spanish must say soy Filipino. I am Filipino. So how is the verb ser used in these sentences? Ser, which means to be, once again is conjugated in the present tense. So in the sentence, de dónde eres, eres is actually a present tense of ser. Ser, which means to be, in de dónde eres becomes eres, which means you are or are you. Hence, from where are you or where are you from? In soy de Filipinas or soy Filipina, ser becomes soy. So ser, to be, conjugates into soy, I am. So that is how to ask for someone's nationality or country of origin in Spanish, and that is how to give your nationality or country of origin in Spanish. To ask for and give your place of residence or domicilio in Spanish, we need the verb vivir, which means to live. As before, it would be easier for me to explain how to use the verb vivir by teaching you the question and the appropriate answer for giving your place of residence. When someone is asking you where you live or where your place of residence is, or if you yourself want to ask someone their place of residence in Spanish, the question is, ¿Dónde vives? Once again, ¿Dónde vives? ¿Dónde vives in English just means, where do you live? To answer this question, you simply say Vivo en, followed by the city you live in right now. So you can say Vivo en Makati, Vivo en Taguig, or Vivo en Pasay, whichever city you're living in right now. Vivo simply means I live. So vivo en means I live in. So how is the verb vivir used in these sentences? In Dónde vives, vivir, which means to live, is conjugated into vives, which means you live. Therefore, ¿Dónde vives means where do you live? In vivo en, vivir, to live, is conjugated to vivo, which means I live. So as we said before, vivo en means I live in. So far, we've learned how to introduce ourselves in Spanish, as well as to ask for someone's name in Spanish. We also learned how to ask about someone's nationality and give our own nationality in Spanish. And then we also learned how to ask for someone's place of residence and also to give our place of residence in Spanish. For our last topic in today's video, we will be talking about how to ask for someone's age, and then how to give your age in Spanish. In the previous topics, the sentences were a little bit more straightforward, meaning there's not a lot of difference between the expression in Spanish and the expression in English. The translation in English was very close to the expression in Spanish. However, when it comes to asking for and giving your age in Spanish, it becomes a little tricky, a little different, because the expression is completely different from how it is said in English. When asking for someone's age or giving your age in Spanish, the verb that we will need here is tener, which means to have. So you might already be wondering, why are we going to use the verb have when we are talking about age? Well, it will all be clearer once I explain the question and the appropriate answer for it. When asking for someone's age in Spanish, the question is, ¿Cuántos años tienes? Once again, ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántos años tienes literally translates to how many years do you have? See? So it's already a completely different expression from English. In English, we say, how old are you? Or what is your age? But in Spanish, the expression is, how many years do you have? It's almost as if what they're trying to express is, as you get older, you gain in years, you gain in age. So instead of simply asking what is your age or how old are you, they ask how many years do you have. That is the literal translation of the question, but the conversational expression is simply how old are you. Therefore, to answer this question, you say tengo, the number of years, años. So if you're 10 years old, you will say tengo 10 años. If you're 8 years old, tengo 8 años. If you're 7 years old, tengo 7 años. Literally, it will translate to I have 10 years, I have 8 years, or I have 7 years. However, the conversational use is simply I am 10 years old, I am 8 years old, or I am 7 years old. So how is the verb tener used in these expressions? Tener, which means to have, in the question ¿Cuántos años tienes? Is conjugated to tienes, which means you have. Hence the question, how many years do you have? Which means how old are you? Meanwhile, for the answer, tener is conjugated to tengo. Tengo means I have. So when you say tengo 18 años, you are literally saying I have 18 years, but the conversational use is I am 18 years old. So tener, to have, becomes tienes, you have, or tengo, I have. There you have it! That is how you introduce yourself and give your personal information in Spanish. When you're learning a new language, the best way to hone this skill is to practice speaking it whenever you can. Therefore, one thing you can do at home is, with the help of your parents and your siblings, do a sort of interview. Ask them their personal information in Spanish and also have them ask you, so you can practice answering in Spanish. After all, the best way to practice a new language that you're learning is to have conversations in that language. And in that respect, your parents or your siblings will be a great help. That brings us to the end of this video, so hopefully you found this helpful for your Spanish learning or your Spanish practice. And if you are more advanced, hopefully this was helpful for a review of the basics, of the fundamentals. Now, if you learned something from this video, if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and share it with your friends. And of course, for more educational content, subscribe to Die Covenant Montessori School. So have a great day. I hope you enjoy your day. Adios. Hasta luego.